Hello and welcome to Rational Magic, jumping into Tinker's Cube draft today. This will be my second entry into the draft. It's pretty exciting, powerful format. It's very spiky. Some people are running some hugely powerful strategies, and then some decks just don't quite come together. Feels a lot like, honestly, Ikoria did with the spikiness of drafts. But it is Cube, so there's less excuse. Johnny just pumps out the lifelink synergy cats. Pretty good. Knight of Autumn, I think, definitely has a place. Archon of Redemption gains 4 life when it enters. You gain life equal to a creature's toughness. Croxa. It's hard to rate Croxa in a format like this, but I think it is very strong. Johnny just being the cat engine, the problem being that he's vulnerable to attacks. He does not protect himself. Croxa might be good enough. I do like the flexibility of Knight of the Autumn. I think there are quite a few enchantments that you want to remove in this format. But I'm going to see if the life gain deck is open. Oh my god. Seeing the Great Henge, one hell of a value engine. A Luna, Apex of Wishes, Fabled Passage to tutor for the lands, Embodiment of Agonies, and Sigil of the Throne. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a 4/4 angel. It's a massive payoff. The Great Henge is just one hell of a card. It's a card draw engine, it's a mana card, and it is life gain. Treasure Map, very, very strong. Path Discovery. Definitely not as strong as other things in the set. 3 mana Flying Death Touch. Enters the battlefield with a +1 counter on it for each different mana cost among non-land symbols. So I think this is a pretty easy Great Henge. This is definitely a powerful pack. There's an argument for Sigil of the Empty Throne being a payoff that just wins games. Imperious Prefect. It's a 3 mana Elf Lord that spends 1 mana to create an elf every turn. It's actually quite competitive and might even be the second pick. Pretty close behind Great Henge. Bolas Citadel, excellent value later in the game. Awakening Amalgam. Equals the number of different named lands you control. Solemn Simulacrum. Just a colorless card that ramps you and draws when it dies. Soul Warden, an amazing life gain card. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. With a Johnny, I should probably just pick up Solemn, as it's the single best life gain synergy card. Probably in the entire set, or enabler, I should say. It's not a payoff, but it gains life when any creature enters the battlefield, including your opponents. Pretty sad to pass up on Solemn, but this card combination is really amazing. All that glitters, +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. Create a 1/1, put 3 counters on something. If you control a creature with power 4 greater, draw 2 cards. Thrashing Brontodon. Pay 1 sack, destroy target artifact or enchantment. I think is actually quite good in the format. All that glitters is a huge payoff. And stays on form with the synergies that I have going. But I think the flexibility of Brontodon in a format with extremely powerful enchantments is good enough. Fine Finality, Castle Garenbrig, Vandal, Thassa's Intervention, Dreadhorde Invasion. I don't believe the trials are in this format. I think it's just cartouches. 4 mana 4/4, enchantment spell that gives the creature +1/+2 permanently. And land ramp enchantment. Land wrap. That can eventually be a wolf. Kind of a weak pack. 2 mana 3/2. I suppose Fine Finality is the greatest value card here. For 6 mana, you pump something you control with counters and then give all creatures -2/-2. Sorry, -4/-4. Heartless Act. Really good kill spell. Core here gets +2/+2 for each aura attached to it. Whenever you cast an aura spell, draw a card. One of the best build-arounds in the set. Hitting that white theme. I'm going to drastically increase the value that I place on enchantments from this point forward. Hanged Executioner is a good flyer with good flexibility. Warrant, Black-White Shrine. Master Splicer is very good. Hanged Executioner is very strong. The Flyer Lord, there isn't a whole lot here that I want, is the problem. And it might be correct to just take the Shrine. Yeah, you know what? Oh, never mind. Dinrav, Proliferate, Flux Channeler. Blue, white, red land, black, red land. So not a whole lot in this pack. Not a whole lot. Blue-green could be the way to go. Set is on training. It's just a cycling enchantment that draws a card. Draw 2 cards off of core. Here we go. So Sigil went around the table. That's amazing. So Sigil is like one of the best payoffs you can have for being an Enchantment Matters deck. Pretty strong. Cartouche, probably playable in this deck. +1/+1, it has lifelink. Create a 1/1 vampire. This is +1/+1 first strike and creates a token. It's way better. So I'll just pick up Cartouche of Solidarity. All that glitter is, oh wow. So both the enchantment payoffs wield. Both of them. Insane. And we get the 2 mana land wrap enchantment on top of it. So looking amazing. White, black, green, tricolor land. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. The amount of life that Soul Warden gains you in a game is kind of insane. Whether you're in life gain matters or not. Final Glory, creating 2/2s. Legion's Landing. Enters the battlefield, create a 1/1. When you attack with 3 or more creatures, transform. Constellation, whenever enchantment enters the battlefield under control, put a +1 counter on it and draw a card. Song of Ice and Fire, very, very good. Something I'll be looking to wheel. But just having another enchantment synergy engine, Citizen and Core in the same deck is pretty insane. 2 different cards that are payoffs or enchantments. And Kalia is actually an enchantment, a way to find enchantments in your deck. Seeing a Fauna Shaman, that's a really amazing card. But this guy, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal enchantment from among them. Put it into your hand. -3, exile target creature enchantment you don't control until the target enchantment leaves the battlefield. So it's removal and fetch on a planeswalker body. And that is going to massively increase the synergy of my deck. Dawn of Hope. Card draw engine for life gain matters. Sifter Worm, 7/7, enters battlefield, scry 3. Gain life. Easy pickup on Dawn of Hope. I have an insane amount of card draw at this point. So the remaining question is, how do I actually win the game? Cycle land here in green. 2 mana 0/4 Defender, taps for a green. Is pretty good. But multi might be the win con I need. Multani, Reach Trampler, +1 for each land you control. I guess Sigil is my win con in this deck. Beanstalker Giant, 3 mana ramp that later comes down as a creature. Pretty sick, pretty playable. Yeah, my win con is essentially Sigil, tutoring Sigil out of the deck and just drawing a ton of cards. I have 2 enchantments that attach themselves onto core, but 3 actually. Just attaching enchantments isn't amazing. Like going all in on one creature is not good. You more want this for the draw spell. And it's not all enchantments, it's only auras that draw off core, whereas Constellation is any type of enchantment. Leafkin Druid, 2 mana ramp creature. Pretty decent kicker, Vigilance Trample. Can be a 5/5. It's hard to say whether Leafkin is better than a 2 mana that can become a 5/5. Three mana first strike, Vigilance Lifelink. Aura and equipment spells cost 1 less to cast. Looking good. 3 mana first strike. Explore. Oh, that might be even better. +1 creature with +1 counters. Oh, here we go. Okay. +2/+2 for each other aura attached to that creature. Really insane. Ancestral Mask is probably the best payoff for being in this deck besides Sigil of the Empty Throne. And the quality of this deck right now is pretty insane. 7 mana, create a 6/6 with flashback for 4. It's not the deck that wants to play that card, but I might need it. X mana to create an XX creature. If damage would be dealt to it, prevent that much damage. Honestly, the Secluded Step might have been a little bit better than this pickup. On Sarah's Wings. Pretty sick. So a lot of enchantments are going to be passed because they're not good value unless you have the payoffs to play them. 11/11 Trampler with cycling probably makes the deck. So late into pack 2, I'm technically at 21 cards right now. And I think I definitely have enough payoffs at this point. Sifter Worm is pretty cool. I probably play Sifter Worm over something. Probably do play it over something, and I'll absolutely pick up a cycle land. That's what I was missing earlier. I wish I'd grabbed the white cycling land. That was definitely a little hiccup. Spell Pierce, Guild Informant. I don't know. Gutter Snipe going to the last pick, second last pick. Kind of nutty. Enchantment. If an effect would create 1 or more tokens under control, it creates twice that many tokens. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, draw a card. The synergy here is insane. Enters the battlefield, you may search your library for an aura card, reveal it, put into your hand. +2 enchantment that fights something. So I'm at exactly 23 playables right now. And there are some potential cuts in the deck. I like Godzilla just because it's a cycler and a payoff later in the game. Oh my god. So, Sylva of the Wilds. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you may, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature. Its controller. Oh, I read that as only yourself the last time I saw it. A Johnny here. I do have a lot of life gain. Pay 1 at X mana any combination of colors where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. I do think this card is insanely good. I do think that card is insanely good. Emissary is a good ramp card. 2 mana enchantment creature in double white. Momentous Fall. Draw cards equal to the sacrificed. Pelt Collector just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. You may reveal a creature from the top of your library. Enchant creature, it has defender and loses flying. Is actually okay, and it's an enchantment aura. So an enchantment aura I might end up playing. 2 mana 2 on Explorer is actually fine. Even though I'm not a flying deck, Sky Tether often will just turn something into a defender, draw me a card. At least a card, often more than one card. Oracle of Muldai. Hell yes. You may play additional land on each of your turns. Play with the top card of your library revealed. It has insane synergy with Multani. 3 mana, create a 3/3 Aftermath. Draw a card for each creature you control with power 3 or greater. Mouth and Feed is probably a pretty close second in this pack, but Oracle Muldai is insane. 6 mana card that fights. Probably makes the deck. Raise the Alarm, instant create 2 1/1s. Stampede, look at the top 5 cards library. You may reveal any number of creature cards from among them. Put revealed cards into your hand. I'll take the 6 mana fight spell. I'll start cutting cards. I'm actually going to have to make quite a few cuts. I have a lot of land ramp in this deck, and I have an amazing amount of card draw. I have fantastic payoffs. Good synergy with Beastalker Giant. Enters the battlefield, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may reveal an aura card from among them. Put it into your hand. Heliod's Pilgrim, you may tutor for an aura when he enters the battlefield. Cycling 2. I know a lot of people would play Heliod's Pilgrim guaranteed in any deck like this. But the card quality here is kind of unbelievable. And I still have to make way more cuts than I already have. None of these make the deck. None of these come close to making the deck. And I'm thinking I just dropped the life gain strategy altogether. Constellation, whatever enchantment enters the battlefield under control. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Hello, server. How dare you? You may reveal a land card from among them, put that card into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So there is a lot that this deck is doing. There is a lot this deck is doing. I don't need card draw. I'm basically winning off of having enchantments in play. Ramping a ton of mana. All that glitters and Ancestral Mask basically make it so that Sylvala is a one-sided effect. But there is no guarantee that it works that way. So I'm just cutting all of the life gain and going hard into this enchantment style of deck. Because the synergy is off the roof. Just unbelievable. I have win conditions out the wazoo. Ancestral Mask, Core Spirit Dancer, Multani, Sigil, anything I throw an aura on. These are all fantastic win cons. And on top of that, I have an immense number of draw engines. I have an immense amount of land ramp. And I have good payoffs for land ramping. Gets +1/+1 for each land you control. Beast Giant. Power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. I can give these creatures combat stats with evasion, vigilance, lifelink. I don't believe I have a trample enabler in the deck. Yeah, so Setazon Training is the one card I have that gives trample, which is actually a big deal. But, my god. I kind of miss not having Sifter Worm in the deck. There might be a card that I should cut for this, but I don't think I need more late game, honestly. I do get to Sifter Worm very easily. Scry 3, reveal a top card of your library. You gain life equal to that card's converted mana cost. It is a trampler. What my deck is lacking is interaction. Maybe Daxos is too hard to cast. He is an enchantment to himself, which means he triggers everything. But I'm also not very heavily in white. I'm actually splashing it. And with this much land ramp, maybe I just do play a higher power card than that. So pretty awesome. I would definitely run Momentous Fall if I didn't have like this many card draw engines in the deck, regardless. Siona might not be great. Might not be great. But it fits. It fits the theme immensely. Cycling Tectonic Rex does put a trample counter on something. But I'm good. I'm loving it. Oh, remember to put in my cycling land. I'm not going to run... Well, cycling for 3 counts as a black or a white. I probably should run it. Just as a black-white tap land. Affectionate Indrik. 6 mana, 4/4 that fights something. Not running a Johnny, Soul Warden, Dawn of Hope. I just don't need these cards to win. Cycling for 3 is just so much worse. It is so much worse. But would I play a green-white tap land that does nothing? 7, 8, 9 to 8. Nah. I don't want tap lands. Pay 2, return 2 lands you control to their owner's hand. Return from your graveyard to your hand. Cost 6 to play. So I can like play this onto the battlefield, return it, and cycle it later. Really cool deck. Really draw dependent. Pretty excited to find out how this works. I'm good with 9 to 8. Although I do very often want double green on 3. But I also want to be able to consistently play core on 2. I'll stick with half and half. Or I just drop one more and play the dual land. Eight, 9, 10 to 7. Eight to 9. No, that's 9 too. That's 9 to 9 down the middle. Okay, jumping on in. Let's do this. Let's do this. I finally get to play with Oracle of Mul-Daya. The like $40 card I've never actually bought in paper. I actually have every single one of my commander decks to this date has green in it. And I haven't played Oracle of Mul-Daya. I go first. I'm afraid I have to keep this enchant land, so Wolfhaven is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome for this deck. So now this land creates a green and a white mana. Ramping to 4 isn't doing a lot for me. But that's okay. I want to play this. Tap at X mana in combination of colors where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. So right now this is pay 1, tap, add 2 mana. Which next turn lets me go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I have nothing to do with 6 mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it doesn't actually advance my board, and it gives my opponent card draw. Picking up all the glitters. And throw down the tap land. So well, what's the second effect on this card? Whenever an aura you control becomes attached to a creature, create a 1/1. Yeah, not worth. So I'll go ahead and kick this as a 5/5. Vigilance and Trample. And if he wants to trade off Visionary, that's fine. So now this card would tap for 5 mana, and my opponent would not get a card draw off it. Ooh. Space Godzilla making his way down. 6/6 Trampler. So I can do some fun stuff here. But make sure I get the lands right. Swing in for 9 trample. So I'm massively invested now. Unfortunately, I didn't draw any of my 3 enablers, any of my 3 card draw engines, and I dumped my hand, which is pretty unlikely in this deck to not see any of 3 card draw enablers for playing enchantments. So I am at the risk of losing a ton of card value, but not playing anything at that point in the game would have been pretty weak. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under its control, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other. So this taps for 9 mana right now. Hello there. Treasure map. He's tapped out. He can block. He can triple block, kill this. I take 2 things out. If he triple blocks, yeah, he takes no damage. He has trample on this guy. The Thrashing Brontodon is not really going to help me. You may cast Broca's Apex from forever from your graveyard using its mutate ability. Will that trigger Selvala? Its controller may draw a card. It's not an ETB effect if he mutates. So he wouldn't draw off Selvala. I could wait and try to give this. He has first strike. Okay, never mind. He has first strike. So attacking is always correct. I do not need to lose this. I don't have lethal by swinging in with my 1/1, so I'm going to save them. Okay. He prevented 2 damage. If I had swung in with everything, he would have just killed all my other creatures. There's 3 blockers. I would have taken... He would have taken 2 more damage, but the blocks would have been different, so... He wouldn't have taken that 7 damage. So it's not quite the same. And end turn. I can play 2 lands a turn. I don't really care about whether or not I cast the plains. His own Oracle will die. Okay. And this is just kind of what happens in this format. If you don't have an answer in your hand, whatever powerful thing your opponent is doing, they just take over the game. Like, I just spent all my cards pumping a single creature, and that one creature won the game. The question being... I don't think I raised my curve at all. I didn't draw Sifter Worm, Multani, or Beanstalker Giant. Nor did I draw Core, Enchantress, Presence, or Citizen Champion. Never saw a sigil of empty throne. So Vala is a risky card, but the payoff is so insane. I should always be able to fill my hand with cards in this deck. But I do have to find the right cards. Yes, I do. All right. Ron. What a guy. This looks like a keep. Not doing anything for a few turns. Play my tap land turn 1. Another mill deck. So I need 1 more mana. I want to cast a creature and an enchantment on the same turn. My hand is rather non-interactive. This time I drew all auras. 4 auras in hand. And beautiful. Let the card draw engine commence. What's he doing on 4 mana? He's going to wait. Double card draw engine in play. Let's go. Yes, I do not draw a card. I hope he kills it. He does. Okay. That was not smart. I can tap this to add how much mana? Add X mana any combination of colors where X is greatest power among creatures you control. I can add 3 mana into any combination of colors. And I'm still on... It's funny the main phase thing isn't here. Phases of the game. I just got to make sure that's correct. Yeah. So spend a green, tap it. Let's add, what do we have in play? I have 1 white on the board. 1. Submit. Resolve. So I have 4 mana right now. I can cast anything I want. And let's hit you for some damage. Well, I'm going to be responsible. Test my opponent for more removal. And then I can go off later in the game. 1/3 flyer. These 2 cards almost win the game. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will be +4 +4. This will be +8 +8. Two mana to bring him back. 2 mana, return 2 lands you control to the owner's hand, return him to your hand. I want to do that when I have Oracle of Maldai in play. Otherwise, it's a bit of a waste. And I do want Multani to be in play before I try equipping it. So that's 3, 6, 3, 5, 7. Okay, so if I tap these two, I can enchant one of my lands. That is untapped, draw a card. And now I can cast these and All That Glitters in the same turn. Set is on training. So I have a fight spell now. Is it the fight spell? No, it's not the fight spell. I kind of want to hold on to All That Glitters until I think I have lethal on board. As I'm just going to go off here pretty fast. I'd rather not put down All That Glitters and have that creature removed. If I can just win in a single turn, which is extremely likely. Enchant creature fights up to one creature and has +2 toughness. So I have to be careful about the fight effect. My opponent is tapped out. Beginning of your upkeep, target opponent mills 3 cards. So he's putting me on a clock. He's putting me on a clock. Nothing here gives trample, right? Nothing here gives trample. There's Oracle and will die. That's pretty awesome. So he's an 11/11. I can make him way bigger. But my opponent will probably chump block this turn. I can make him way bigger. I can also make you way bigger. So 1, 2, 3. He gets +3/+3, becomes a 5/5. Doesn't look like anything's getting through this turn. So I'm probably just playing Oracle and will die. This guy has trample. Oh shit, so I could have given him way more than this. Could have been 10, 11, 12, 17 power. I could have swung in for 20 damage in the air with trample. Which still wouldn't have been lethal. But that's damn close. The Great Henge is on top of my library. Let's do this now. No, I don't have to do this now. Return this to my hand. Bounce 2 lands. I am drawing cards very quickly. What is... I have 8 cards left in my library. So I could realistically die to... I could have died to mill. Which is definitely something to pay attention to. Four cards in my library. Lots of blockers on the ground. Reach trample, +1/+1, and fight something. So not having evasion on the creature that I just played is quite bad. Yep. I may have just lost. 3 cards in my library. Target opponent mills 3 cards. I have to win this turn, but I can't. This draws me 2 cards and gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. Yep, I lost to mill. He can chump block no matter what. Two cards in my library. back in the sack, kill off this guy. So I'm no longer milling. I hit in for 9, he goes to 7, he blocks. Here, here, here. He takes 3, he doesn't die. Right. 7, yeah. If he has 1 mill card in his deck, I lose. Supreme Will. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Yeah, this is an interesting game. Like, if I dumped everything onto the warrior, I would have had lethal this turn that I attacked. I did not have lethal the turn before it. My opponent would have survived at 1 life. So I don't win the game any fast. Well, no, he would have survived at 1 life and I could have swung in with the tokens. Yeah. That's a tough decision. Because if you put every single one of your enchantments on a single creature, then you just lose the game. To that one creature getting hit by a removal spell. And he has nothing with reach. He has 1 blue. He could bounce my guy. There could be like an unsummon or something. Attacking on the ground is still bad. The fight spell will actually mill me to the loss. So I have to just hope he doesn't have an answer. And he does not. Tight game. Tight game. So there's definitely a different line of play where I put more pressure on the opponent. But then I lose pretty hard to any sort of spell interaction that he has. And I definitely was not thinking of how close I was to milling myself out in that game. So tight game. We got to see how crazy this engine is when it goes off. Pretty crazy consistent. I'm still not a big fan of Siona. Still not a big fan. Has defender and loses flying. I think Sky Tether could actually be pretty sick. Mostly because it replaces itself. I'm not actually losing card advantage. It makes Siona more consistent. I probably drop either a Sifter Worm or maybe even Selvala. Selvala hasn't really done much for me. I do have big creatures to play off of it. This can only hit auras. It's been pretty good at filling up the board with chump blockers. I'm liking it. I'm going to stick with it. Going into game 3. ML Salts. Only white mana in hand, which is too bad because I actually have a really good hand. I'll definitely keep this. And probably throw back the cartouche. Put the thicket down. Ooh. I'm very tempted to just leave core in hand until I have some way to enable it. I'm going to ramp up pretty fast. And my opponent hasn't put on pressure yet. Leaving open red-green, very likely that he just has removal spells. So I'm just going to ramp above him. A second white means I can core and glitter in the same turn. Enabling Enchanter's presence would have been really good if I top decked a land in my following turn. Okay, so he's kind of about to go off, which is kind of scary. So creatures he control now enter with +1 counters on them. And I'll play core now because I need to efficiently use my mana. And just really hope he doesn't burn my guy. Yeah, which he has. It's better this happens now than I play the card and try to enchant it and it dies. Even though I didn't get value off it. Now I can cast Brontodon and Glitter. 3, 4, 5. I'm 2 mana off being able to cast this. Oh, that's really sweet. Okay. Why would it spend double green? No. And fight 1 creature. He has 2 mana open, so I'm going to... Oh yeah, has to spend double green. Okay. No way around it. I can't cast creature and fight. The 3/4 should be out of range of removal. Most 2 mana removal hits for 3 damage. So this is like one of the only creatures that isn't at risk of just getting blown out. It definitely feels like my opponent is playing around instant speed kill spells. It absolutely feels that way. Which also means that blocking I'll take the 2 for 1. Ooh, Collected Company. Cool card. Okay, so search the top 6 cards of your library. He gets Banneret, Runaway Steamkin. Come in with 1/1 counters. The Mentor is really great. I can cast Beanstalker Giant this turn as a 7/7. But I'd really like to get this off the field. He's a 7/7 Trampler. He's going to grow next turn. My opponent could double block this, but I'd rather just hold on to it. There's no guarantee whatever I draw off of Warbriar Blessing is enough to affect the board. And Brontodon, as long as he remains alive, he'll reach critical massive stats where he can just take over the game. No vigilance, so I'm always afraid of the swing back. Always be afraid. My best bet is just go over Gruul. He doesn't get Mentor because you have to pump your guy before combat for that trigger. And I'm just avoiding losing one of my creatures. I need to take damage and just hope I can clear out his board. +4, +2. So I lose one guy. And that's a 2-for-1. And then I take a bit of damage. He doesn't pump twice, so he has something else in hand. Oh yeah. Ouch. Gotta cycle this. And I have no creatures left. So I'm gonna take a lot. I'm nearly dead next turn. If I don't hit a creature. If I hit a creature, I can probably win this game. If I don't hit a creature, I'm dead in 2 turns. And red has a ton of burn. Crap. What do I even do with this? Give me a card. No, that's not the card I need. Give me another card. Oh, that would have been nice. GG. Kills off everything. Red is really strong as an aggressive strategy. The quality of 1-drops and just low curve creatures is very high, and it will massively punish people for playing slower in the game.